Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome once again to the Step Up, Make a Difference podcast. I'm Mike Peacock, and my co-host is Dr. Marty Durden. And already in the studio with us, as you see on your screen, is Coach Kendall Mills, the system-wide athletic director for the Muskogee County School District in Columbus, Georgia. Coach Mills, welcome to Step Up, the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you all for having me. I'm looking forward to this.
And we're coming off another big weekend of athletics, another big week of athletics here around the school district. And Marty, a big weekend of college football. There was some controversy yesterday, of course. You know, if you pull for who I do, there was some controversy in the games yesterday. But a lot of great football played yesterday. A lot of surprises and a lot of not so surprises. But had a lot of high school football here on Georgia Alabama Sports Live on Friday night, and a lot of sports throughout the week. But Coach Mills, talk about before we get into talking about you personally and your background, talk about the year so far in Muskogee County athletically and what's been going on.
There's a lot that takes place in Muskogee County in the Columbus area. This is probably my 52nd day on this job, holding this position. So not only am I concerned with the high school sports, right now we got softball, volleyball, cross country, cheerleading, and football going on. I know everyone talks about football because it's the biggest thing on the weekends. But middle school, we got flag football playoffs starting this week for girls in middle school. Cross country as well is going on, and we're going to kick off Wednesday night with middle school 11-man football. So a lot of moving pieces, a lot of parts, and things are just steamrolling, going week by week. Time literally flies by every week for me.
Coach, do you ever have a night off? Man, you're the bride at every wedding and the corpse at every funeral, aren't you?
I do not have any time off. Got up this morning, had an interview this morning with a friend of mine who's working on a doctoral degree. He interviewed me for about an hour and went immediately to Connect Stadium to start setting up for cross country. We have races on Monday and Tuesday night. So it doesn't stop.
It never stops. I know it don't. But, Coach, let's go back and let's talk about you and where you came from and go all the way back to growing up and how you got involved in sports, and then when you decided you wanted to go into the coaching side of things, and then how that evolved into where you are now.
Yeah, I'm from Opelika, Alabama, right down the road. Across the river, around the corner. And my mother was in education. So when I went to college, I majored in engineering. Back in the 90s, engineers made about $35,000 a year, and I thought I would be rich. This is going to be awesome. I knew that teachers didn't make a lot of money. But it took me about 2 chemistry classes to realize this is not the place for me. I was at Auburn University in Montgomery, a small NAIA school, and I transferred back to Auburn University in Auburn. So basically I went back home because I wanted to try out for the basketball team. And Cliff Ellis and his staff said, "No, sir, not for you." So I did not make the men's basketball team, but some female coaches, the women's side, they were there watching the tryouts. And this was when they first started having male practice squads for women's teams. And I was one of the original members of a male practice squad at Auburn University called the Orange Crush for the great Hall of Famer Joe Champy. And I was able to work with him and the women's staff for 3 years. which was a blessing to me because the men's team didn't do too well back then, and the women's we won an SEC title and made it to the Elite Eight. So I was able to travel the country on the women's side. Fell in love with basketball and coaching basketball, and also got out of engineering and got into education. I knew as a male that I would get a job once I graduated from college in education, and never looked back. Spent a few years in Opelika as an assistant coach, boys side basketball and teaching elementary education. But I didn't really like opening ketchup packets and milks all the time. So I eventually I moved to middle school in central Phoenix City. I was at Phoenix City Intermediate School for 5 years and was able to just blessed and able to work with Carolyn and Bobby Wright at Central High School. I served both of them as their assistant coach. And at that point, I didn't know if I was going to coach boys, girls, and it didn't matter. I just loved being in the gym and working hard. Then I ended up at Hardaway High School. Matt Bell was a good friend of mine, even to this day. Keith Seifert hired me at Hardaway High School as the boys basketball coach back in 2004. And until last August, I was at Hardaway High School. So 21 years at Hardaway High School as the boys basketball coach or girls basketball coach, volleyball coach, assistant football. Had about a week stint at softball and a month or so with swimming. So I've done a lot of things at Hardaway High School, and it was a good run there. And like I said, about 50 days in now as the director of athletics for Muskogee County.
Well, you are definitely equipped for the job. And just think how many people can say they coached for Joe Champy, the legend.
Yeah.
For the Wright family, both legends, and for Matt Bell, who I hold in highest regard.
Yep.
So you had the benefit of a lot of good leadership, and it shows in what you're doing and the confidence that they have in you. I was up here. I live up in Rome now at Shorter University, and when I heard the news, everybody was saying we're excited about the change and Jeff moving over to the operations side,
yep.
Which he's an expert at, and with all those new facilities, it was a perfect thing. And then you come along, so the district is blessed with what has transpired, and you're the right man for that job. And we want to congratulate you first on that, and we want to find out what optimism, what good things are happening with all the changes in sports and how they trickle down to you. What are you looking forward to the most in Muskogee County now?
Well, I think with a lot of the changes that are occurring at the collegiate level and filtering into high schools is the things that we're going to have to educate our parents and our student athletes on as we continue to move forward. The changing landscape of recruiting for high school athletes, the use of technology and social media to promote your players and things of that nature. So I'm really looking forward to meeting with the athletic directors on a monthly basis or whatever the needs may be to help them navigate these scenarios as well as the families and the community. We have another big thing coming up next month. Actually going to do a fentanyl awareness program here in this district. That's actually going to be led by a Girl Scout group. But I'm going to piggyback on with that one and try to get as many athletes and parents involved in those types of initiatives moving forward. But as far as athletics goes, from the high school down, I mean, we just want to compete at the highest levels. Right now, 7 of our 8 high schools are all competing in 2A division. Carver's the reigning 2A football champions. Shaw High School's soccer team lost in the championship game on the boys' side. Columbus Golf won another title, I think, last year, or were the runner-ups. Hardaway girls won the state title. So if we're able to compete at the different sports, and that's going to be very beneficial for us. Northside softball is doing well right now this season. As far as middle school goes, they compete internally, but we have excellent athletes and great coaching going on at that level. It's funny you asked, you said I'd never get a day off. I'm actually sitting here right now working on an elementary basketball schedule for about 45 teams that are going to play on Saturdays and Wednesdays for the next month. So it's always something.
Man, it is always something. When you were running a district-wide athletic department, what has been your biggest adjustment, Coach, going from the world of a coach and a teacher? What's been your biggest adjustment moving over to that administrative side and kind of maybe moving up a level and looking back down on where you were and what you've been doing? What's been your biggest adjustment to make and get comfortable with this, I guess? Or are you even comfortable with it yet, only 52 days in?
Getting very comfortable. The biggest adjustment is just being almost like considering an office job. You know, your job is to go and the first thing you do is actually boot up your computer to see how many emails you need to respond to. As a coach at the high school, I mean, I was moving around and being able to walk around the school, see different teachers and kids in the building, and of course, coaching PE or weight training. So those things are not in my daily routine right now. It's actually the planning and the organizing things for the different levels we have here in Muskogee County.
The biggest adjustment I had to make becoming an athletic director was exactly that, Kendall. Mm-hmm. It's, what really charged me and still does is hanging out with the kids, the interpersonal relationships. And then to just be, like you said, stuck in front of a computer. Gee whiz, one day they bring in two computers, these side-by-side things, and they sit them down and say, holy mackerel, what happened to people? It's all about a people business. So I guess your challenge is going to be being the director and not making it an impersonal job, because I guarantee you it's all about people with you, because you're that kind of guy.
Yep. You build relationships. And you all know it's the world we live in. You can have all the degrees you want, but that doesn't mean you're going to be the boss. Doesn't mean you're the CEO or anything like that. It's just the relationships you build and the fostering of those relationships. You get promoted. You get things that happen and doors open for you with the blessings of God, and you're able to take on the world. But yeah, I do miss that when I do go to Hardaway or different schools and visit. When I say visit, I mean for 10, 20 minutes at a time, I'm in and out just to see my former athletes, and they're asking about, am I coming to their games? Or the girls I coach volleyball was just, I got this position in June or July. So I didn't practice with them. I practiced with them in May. So you take the month of June off, and then in July, they're actually meeting a new coach at their first practice and being told, well, Coach Mills took on another job. So we see those young ladies and they're just like, what? He's not coming back? What happened? So that was tough, but I'm able to go back and see them and watch a game or two, and they're excited about that, just having me in the gym with them. So I'll get used to that. But it has been an adjustment at this point.
And Coach, you going back to your coaching days, and that's, I don't know if you've been able to watch any of our episodes of this podcast in the past ones that we've done, but we have based this along Marty's higher standard program and his curriculum for coaches and servant leadership. And we've talked to a lot of coaches. We've talked to a couple of other athletic administrators. Pretty much everybody we've talked to has been involved at some level in the athletic side of things. You mentioned the word relationships. And I'm a former coach. Marty's a former coach. And I've worked in college athletics. And relationships are, I believe, the key to everything. And what did that do for you as far as your relationship building skills and everything that you learned, probably going all the way back to college when you were on that practice squad, the Orange Crush at Auburn, developing those relationships? How have you been able to bring that forward throughout your career, and then where you are now, bring it to an even higher level at where you are now?
Right. It's been a blessing. The people that I've worked for and with as colleagues side by side have been a pivotal in my development and maturation in this profession. I go back to Coach Champy. Once I mentioned him earlier. I don't know how good of a basketball player I was, but I think he saw something in me that he would invite me to the coaches' meetings, invite me to his house for dinner. So that was huge because the other managers weren't going to his house for dinner. But he would welcome me into his house, and I'm still friends with him and talk to him. I mean, whenever he's doing an Auburn game, I'll get to the game and we'll sit and talk for a while. And his daughter's doing a great job over at the private school in Alabama that she's at, Lisa. Talked to her several times. Sam Purcell, I'm just dropping names now because Sam Purcell married Kelly Champy, and he's a coach at Mississippi State. So I'm able to talk to him from time to time about basketball. But personally, like I said, once I met with the Wrights, being able to work with Bobby Wright on a day-to-day basis, as he was the athletic director at Central High School and defense coordinator on the football team and head boys basketball, it just showed me how hard you have to work sometimes. You know, you don't get the praise that you want, not that you garnish it, but you're not asking for all these things to be notarized in the public, but just to work hard and the time that it takes to be good, not to be great, just to be good and stay relevant in your sports and in your job. Like I said, Keith Seifert and Matt Bell brought me into Hardaway. Jeff Battles, who I replaced as a director, of course, I worked with him for 6 years, I think, at Hardaway. When he left to become the director of athletics, that got me a promotion to be the athletic director at Hardaway. Then 10 years to work right under him as a friend, as a colleague. I knew exactly what Jeff did from 4 to 10 because those are the hours I would get off work and I would be doing track meets or things of that nature with him. But the 8 to 4, as I talked about earlier with Marty, is just sitting at a desk. I mean, that's not something I'm getting comfortable with some of those things, but I like to be out and talking to people. And, I look at my position now as the coach of the coaches and the athletic director to the athletic directors. Want to make sure I coach and mentor them the best of their abilities, best of my ability to help them grow and mature in this profession. Because, I mean, you need someone to lean on. You need someone to learn something from. So I don't mind them calling me or asking me questions because I want to help them out. I'm not going to be doing this forever. I want to move to Rome or somewhere too and retire and be like Marty and just sit back. So we'll see how that goes. But I got a little time now.
Well, you have really got a great pedigree, Coach, and you really got the servant leader heart, and that's what we're all about. The servant leader heart. It's not about your accolades.
No,
it's not what you remember. None of those things. They burn up. Coach Rick said they just gather dust, right? Mm-hmm. Rings gather dust. But what we do in the lives of other people is what. When our day comes and we're going to go meet in the great golf course in the sky, and I think it is a golf course, by the way.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
When we go up there, we can look back on our lives and say, I'm proud of what I did. And because it's just like you got it, Coach. It's all about relationships. And those girls that are calling you, they'll be calling you 20 years from now when they're moms and when they have children and you may be hiring them one day. It's just amazing how over the course of time, the relationships that you build make a difference, and you have that multiplication effect. Now take it from the old man who's looking back. Some people you hadn't thought about in 10 years, all of a sudden will come and you'll get a phone call. Mm-hmm. And it just sets off another branch that's growing from the tree. And God just blesses what you do over a period of time. It's just amazing. And you're sitting on the threshold of that, and you're nowhere near an old guy. 28 years is nothing, man. But you're got the right idea about servant leadership, and that's what it's about. It's about serving them. And that's the kind of leadership these kids respond to.
Yep. Yep. It's definitely something where you can see them on a day-to-day basis, and they mimic you. You don't know they're watching you from day to day. I remember on dress-up days, I would have 20 boys at Hardaway High School dressed up in sweatsuits and a whistle around their neck, or with one pant leg rolled up, and I'm Coach Mills today, put a pillow under their T-shirt or whatever because I outweighed them a little bit, but I call that maturity weight. But yeah, you don't know how you affect them. They in the city right now, we got Kelly Ellison at Hardaway. Kim Ellison is at Hardaway. Of course, I've coached both of them, and they're both on the girls' staff and teachers. And Kelly won the state title, of course, with her girls' team. Jarquella Woods is at Northside. She's a head coach. I coached her in high school. Jamisha Todd is on the Hardaway staff. I coached her. And like you said, when you do these things and it's not for accolades, I joke with a lot of coaches now and say, hey, man, when our time has come, they're not going to put your win-loss record on your tombstone. I just want to say Coach Mills tried. He tried to make us better people. So that's something I've just lived by for a few years now, and just something me and my father would talk about from time to time when he's over at the games. It's just coach them hard, son, because you're not going to win them all. And, my father would be honest, like, those guys can't play basketball. Just keep working hard and make them better people. So, and the end result is what they do when that ball stops bouncing and how they become fathers or educators and things of that nature.
Yeah, Coach, you brought up something great there. Is your philosophy when you're working with kids and realizing that so much of this world today, especially on the media side, wants to focus on those wins and losses, and they want to make those the main thing. But we all know, all the three of us here, and most everybody I know in the coaching profession, realize that that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is the kids that you coach and how you can influence them and how you can help change their life or redirect their life into a path that's positive. And that was a great segue into what we normally talk about on this podcast. And this, when you were coaching, when you were actively coaching, what did you find were some of the most important things that you could do to show those kids that you cared about them and that you had their back?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because coaching has changed a lot since I've been involved in this. And I'm not one of those coaches that punish kids by running, do this, do that. And later in my career, I would just pull them aside and we would just have a conversation. And like you said, just communicating to them what is expected, what the standards or what your culture is going to be, or what values you have. And sometimes, young people will have issues off the court, but of course they don't know how to mask that. So they're bringing it onto the court. But if it wasn't beneficial to the team, I want to address those concerns and those issues with them away from the group and let them know, hey, I'm here for you. You can come to my office at any time. We can talk about whatever, because if you're mentally and physically ready to play, I want you to play and perform to the best of your ability. But if you're not focused on what we got going right now, then take a day off. Go home if you need to. Just do what you need to do to get right, because, I want you to put your best foot forward. If you're thinking about playing at the collegiate level, I don't need a college coach watching you explode on the court or not do things the right way. And, of course, in any sport, you always build on the foundations that you set. So it wasn't always the glorious thing in basketball be who led us in scoring. And I would try to reward the ones who led us in assists or who led us in rebounding, because sometimes that dirty work is required for the team to be successful or for that player to get recognition. Even a bad team is going to have a leading scorer, so I would tell them that. I said, I don't worry about how many points we scored. Just did we do it the right way? Did we play the right way as a team? And do it within the foundation that we built as a team, as a group here at Hardaway or wherever I was coaching at that time. And I learned that, like I said, from Coach Champion, Bobby Wright, and Lewis Washington, the coaches that I've worked with for years. You take the good and the bad from all those experiences, and you try to formulate that into your own program. And that's what I was able to do at Hardaway High School.
I think you're on to something there. It has changed. A lot of I think what's in kids' hearts and what they need from a coach has not changed.
Mm-hmm.
But the method, the way we get there has changed. A lot of things were accepted back in the 70s that you get fired for. Now you just can't, society frowns on those things. But I got right here the latest research we did. We got about 300 kids who responded to some research about what it is that motivates them. That's kind of what the way we servant leadership is one thing, and the effects of servant leadership are another, right? Is it effective, or is it just a philosophy that don't really make a difference in people's lives? And that's where we live, is try to prove what the motivational effects of servant leadership. That's what we're about, And so the number one thing that came back to us in this latest sample is kids want to be independent. They do not want anybody lording over them, telling them, so like the old general, the field general, they don't want to hear that, right? They want to be independent. The second thing is they want to feel like that there's a purpose to what they do, and it's a higher purpose. And then the third thing was they want to be good at something. They want to master something: competence, autonomy, purpose, and competence. Those are the three things that they want. And what gets them there, the methods of a coach, we sort of identify 8 or 7 behaviors that a coach does to help them fulfill those needs in their lives, to meet those self-determination needs. Number one is trust. They want a coach they trust.
Yep.
And trust revolves around keeping our word. I hope you don't feel like I'm lecturing you right now. I don't want to come across like that. It's just research. This is stuff that's new to me. I just found I got last report Friday, But what they want is somebody they trust. That's the biggest thing. They want somebody they trust. And they're going to look at me as a father figure. They look at the lady coaches as a mother figure. And that's kind of the way we get the kids in the world today. We got a lot more information about that, but that's just the bullet points of what they want out of their lives and what they see in a coach. How can we get them there? Interesting, isn't it?
Yep. I have, it's funny you bring up something like that. Just a short story. I hope you all don't mind. But last week at Hardaway, one of the players told his mother he wasn't going to play basketball. He's a 10th grader at Hardaway, but he played for me as a freshman. And the coaches that are there, we got one older coach my age, but we got some young coaches there. And one of the things he told his mother was, it's not the same since Coach Mills has left. And they asked, what do you mean? What do you mean? He said, it's just not the same. Almost like it's too much trash talk in workouts, where Coach Mills wouldn't allow that. Like he's striving for that structure, that the little foundation that I just mentioned. He was striving. He wants that. And I called the coaches and I said, hey, listen, I can't tell you what to do, nor can you be me. But, you can't be their buddies, and you can't discipline them too hard, but you got to build a relationship with them, and you got to know which buttons to press, how to motivate them individually. Like you said, they all want to be their own individual. I said, but you got to tie in the team concepts that you're trying to establish and build into the program. And you got to start now, because you're going to lose your best player, one of your hardest workers, because he's not sensing that in what you're doing right now.
That's exactly right. And that's, I think it's even going back to the very early 90s when I came into the coaching profession, and stayed in it for 7 years before we moved over here. And I went to work at Columbus State in the athletic department outside of a coaching role. But in the early 90s, it's completely different now than it was then. And then I learned that in 2018 when I moved back into the coaching world at the private school level and at the middle school level the first time, and learned that some of the stuff that I did as a coach in the early 90s wasn't going to fly with these kids in this decade or in this era because a lot of them can't handle raised voices. They can't handle punishment or not, just a little encouragement. I used to call it doing some push-ups or running a lap or doing a sprint. They look at that as a personal attack on them sometimes. Right. And they want to take everything so personally. And so that's a big adjustment that coaches have to really constantly make, especially older coaches who've been doing it the same way for a long time, learning how to adjust to today's kids in this world that we're in today has been some of the biggest adjustments I think to make. But, I think what Marty said and what you've said so far, coaches want to trust somebody. And if you ever can prove to those kids that you believe in them and they believe that you believe in them, I think then you've got about half the battle going there because then they're going to listen to you. And sometimes it's the hardest part, though, is getting them to that point.
Yeah, I agree. It's the changing dynamics in athletics, as just in sports in general and education in general. A lot of the students and the student athletes feel entitled. And we can't blame it on COVID anymore. We can't blame it on that year and a half that they weren't in the classroom. But that the screen generation, they're so used to having technology in front of them and getting immediate feedback and immediate rewards. And it's not always the case. I mean, all of us as former coaches know that it takes time to get good at something. And it takes even more time to get great at it. And then the numbers game is what it is. 1/10 of 1% is going to make it to the professionals as a basketball player. You got 500,000 high school basketball players and only 5,000 play collegiately. I would break those numbers down to the athletes. Football, the numbers are higher, but only 1/3 makes it to the pro level. So I would always talk to them about, well, what are you going to do after sports? Because that's going to challenge you and challenge your character and where you're going to be as a man or a woman, because all of us are not going to make it to the highest level. Even as an athletic director, when I meet with the middle school athletic directors, I ask, is this your goal? Is this what you want to do? Or do you want to be a high school athletic director? So I'm going to really push them and encourage them to continue to stretch their limits and say, hey, if you want to go farther in this, you keep going further. Just don't settle on where you are right now, because there's other things out there that you probably can do. And if I can be a guiding figure, I definitely would love to be a guiding figure for them.
It is the legacy we leave, isn't it? Is the legacy we leave in the hearts of the kids we touch, that cross our path, and it won't be the professional athletes. I mean, I've coached guys that are in prison. They're say that I've coached lots of kids who passed on and left this world, but I've coached a lot of kids who are doctors and lawyers, a lot of coaches. I coached 15 athletic directors in my life, and it's when we look back at the things we do, just like you're beginning to do, I guess you're reaching that new stage in your life where, as an AD, you have to sit in a different chair, right? Wear a different hat, and it's you're handling it well. You're understanding it completely. But I think where you're really right, Coach, is the long haul. what's that kid going to be like 20 years from now?
Mm-hmm.
Kid we're pouring ourselves into, and we're worried about their free throw technique, or, they're not blocking out, or whatever. But really, it's what's going to really matter is what kind of person are they going to be when the pressure's on, they're having to pay bills,
Mm-hmm.
they're out in the pressures of life and trying to stand for something to raise kids. And that's what we can't get away from. That's what we're about.
Oh, yeah.
Coach, you made a statement a little earlier in your job. Now you are the coach to coaches and the athletic director to athletic directors. And I think I made the comment. I don't know if Marty, I don't remember if it was last week or the week before, but I worked for a guy, and I don't know if you ever got to meet him or not. You're from Alabama, so you're probably going to recognize this name. But I coached under a guy named Steve Savarese, who was the executive director, later was the executive director of the Alabama High School Athletic Association. And Coach Savarese used to tell us all the time, he said, when you're a head coach, you not only coach players, but you coach coaches, because you have to coach your coaching staff, especially young ones like I was when I coached under him. And I learned a ton. I learned a ton of what to do when I worked for him, but I also learned some things not to do. And I think it's that way everywhere you go. Trial and error as a young coach. When you're coming up through, you're gonna grasp hold of things that you believe you really need to do, and you're not going to bring some of those things forward that you don't feel like you need to do in your particular personal coaching career. But in your position now, how much time do you get to spend talking to coaches, and maybe talking to young coaches and talking to athletic directors? You mentioned it just a couple of minutes ago about making sure that this is what they want to do, and do they want to take it further? How much time do you get to spend with that, with all that's going on? How much time do you actually get to spend doing that?
Not as much as is needed. We have monthly athletic director meetings here in the school district. I'm actually going to go to Flint River and conduct an athletic directors meeting there in the next 2 weeks. But as an athletic director, I guess I might be considered young as an athletic director, but I have experience, and I have gray hairs too. I just cut them off so people don't see them. But I love what I do. I cannot go into a gym, and if the floor needs to be swept, even now, I would sweep the floor. Like, it's taking responsibility and catering to your home. Like, I treat it Hardaway as if it was my home. I probably was at Hardaway more than I was at home. And some young coaches don't understand that. They think they can just show up and coach the game and go home. And I'm like, nah, if you really want some longevity in this, you got to really, your administrators want to see that you really care about this building, this place, Mm-hmm. And if you using it as a 1 or 2 year stepping stone, okay, that's one thing. But I was lucky. I was blessed. Keith Seifert, Matt Bill. My job was not to have their phone ring. So whatever it took, I didn't want when I was just a coach and not the athletic director, I didn't want Morgan Ingram's phone to ring. I didn't want Jeff Battle's phone to ring. I didn't want Tracy Powell's phone to ring. So as a coach, I did whatever I had to do to make sure their phone did not ring with any concerns or displeasures with my job as a coach. When I took the job as the athletic director, I would tell the coaches, your job is not for my phone to ring. I don't want parents calling me about you. I want you to put in your system, develop your philosophies. If you need my guidance or assistance, I'm here to help you. But your job should be for my phone not to ring. And now I don't want my phone to ring because I don't want Dr. Lewis's phone to ring. So I share that with them all the time. I'm bluntly honest about that. Like, do your job, and hopefully everything goes well. And if you can win games, that's great. But your job is to serve these kids and teach them about life skills, to be leaders in the community, or being contributing members to society when it's all said and done. I think that's what we want to do.
The toughest lesson for young coaches, it sure was for me, was if you want to win, don't emphasize winning. That's right. The secret to it. It's the other things that really we need to dwell in. I mean, and I like the way you're handling that. That's really good. And that idea, that chain of command, that's big stuff right there. That makes everybody responsible. Everybody knows they're responsible. If something goes wrong, when they see you sweep that floor, that's a big thing, Coach, because it sends a signal. I need to take care of the floor. And everybody's responsible for every part of the program. But when you get people to say, that's not my job, that's a bad sign, isn't it?
Yes, sir, it is. Yeah, absolutely. It's everyone's job. I mean, just, the emails that you send out now are just about taking care of facilities or taking inventory of your equipment. You would think they would know to do that. And I'm just like, what do you mean? You don't know how many helmets you have? I don't understand that. I never ended a basketball practice without 15 basketballs. And we weren't going to leave the gym until I had all 15 basketballs on my rack. And I didn't leave that up to the assistant coaches. That was my job as a head coach. It's out of my budget. I'm going to make sure that we have all our equipment at the end of the game or end of practice every single day. And my assistants would laugh at me because I was the last to leave the gym. I'm going to do the laundry. I'm going to fold the laundry. I'm going to hang the laundry. Like, I just took it upon myself to take care of my team and my kids and what they needed. And I think the players understood that Coach Mills is going to work hard for us, so, and I hope they played hard for me because of that, because I was going to feed them, whatever it took to make sure they were taken care of on a day-to-day basis. And like you said, we're here to serve. We're here to serve and give back. And I think I did that for 21 years at that high school level. And now as an administrator, I'm definitely going to do it and continue to do that as a leader and a mentor and the director of athletics for the school district.
One time, Coach, in that regard, one time I was a young coach and assistant my first year. We had a bad call, ended the game, and I got all mad. It was one of those last second things. And it was a no call, right? That didn't happen. And so I'm fussing at the referee and the crowd's into it. And the head coach comes up and says, quit arguing. Make sure we leave here with 6 basketballs. And that was a good lesson for me.
There you go. Move on.
Yeah.
It's over. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Hey. And Coach, I worked, you mentioned sweeping the floor, and it brought back a great memory for me because I worked with Jay Sparks from the time I went to work at Columbus State. He was the women's coach, and we were in Woodruff Gym. And one of Jay's, if you couldn't find him, if he was not at his desk, and this is after he came on full time, if he wasn't at his desk, the first place you needed to look was out on the floor, because one of his favorite things to do, and he wanted to make sure it was done, was to sweep the floor.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I asked him about that. I said, Coach, don't we have people that do that? And he said, well, we might. He said, but I never know when they're going to do it. He said, and I want it done. And he said, plus it's one of my favorite times. But he said, because I get to be by myself for a little while I'm walking up and down the floor. And he said, number one, I know it's done. I know it's done right. And it gives me some time to think and get my thoughts together and kind of collect things. He said, if I got something going on, I can go out there and sweep the floor, and I have all that time to myself. And he said, nobody's bothering me because nobody wants to come out there and walk around with me while I'm sweeping the floor. Right. And he said, so, and sometimes he would do it 2 or 3 times a day, but he was, he believed in that time. And I think that's something I believe that all coaches can use, is to etch out a little bit of that time, do something beneficial toward your program and toward your facility. But at the same time, use that time for something beneficial for yourself, whether it's collecting your thoughts about practice or, I know coaches that go get on the lawnmower, and will go and mow the baseball field or the soccer field or the football field. And they use that time just like you would sweeping the floor. And they're out there. Not only are they doing something beneficial for the program, and they're letting people see them do something in a servant role, but they're also using that time for themselves to kind of keep themselves together and keep themselves grounded. And I think it's huge I think it's a great lesson for young coaches to learn is to find something like that to be able to do.
Not only that, if you don't want parents to talk to you after a game, just pull the trash and start cleaning the bleachers. They won't stay around.
That is great advice.
No doubt. They're not going to join you with that, are they?
They're not going to join you cleaning the gym or pulling trash out of the receptacles. They don't want to do that. That's my decompression time. I made myself unavailable a few times just by saying, let's walk these bleachers. You want to help me pick up this trash? We can talk all you want. But I got to get ready for school tomorrow. A Tuesday night game, I got to have the gym ready for Wednesday morning PE classes.
Mm-hmm.
If you are a young coach out there listening to this broadcast, that may be the best piece of advice that Coach has given you tonight, and amongst his words of wisdom. That is a good one, Coach.
Yeah, they're not going to bother you. Sometimes your assistants won't bother you either. Absolutely,
no doubt about it. It is something. I tell you something else that I love seeing, Coach, is when teams go on the road and you're in a visiting locker room. I love it when teams leave that locker room better than they found it.
The way they found it. Yep.
And I think that teaches, number one, that teaches them your servant's heart, but that also teaches those kids to be responsible and remember that you're a guest in somebody else's house. Mm-hmm. And it's always, you honor them whether you want to or not. Yeah, they're your opponent. Yeah, you want to compete against them, and it may be somebody that you don't even like. But it is really cool when sometimes you see those pictures that the opposing coach, the homestanding coach, will go in the locker room and take a picture of it and post it on social media and say, this is how I found this locker room. I appreciate coaches who do this, who leave this locker room clean like that. And the dugouts in baseball, they clean it up before they leave. The sidelines in football, it's cleaner than it was when they got there. I think that's a great lesson to teach kids at the same time, but it's also another one of those things that we can do as coaches that instill some of that into the players and have them to help learn a lesson or learn a task, a life task that is important.
Yeah, that's one thing. Maybe about 15 years. I don't know if I did it all 21 years at Hardaway, but I got it from Coach Champy. One of my jobs as a manager back in the 90s was to set up the officials room with snacks or Gatorades or waters. So in high school, I would always give the officials water, Gatorade, just have a cooler for them in their changing room. And I was shocked when officials would thank me, after games. And I would be upset, but I probably lost the game. And I'm thinking, what are you thanking me for? And it's like, man, just thank you for putting the Gatorade in the officials room for us. And you're the only coach that did that for us in the city. And I'm like, well, it's just second nature. I mean, you're working hard. Most of you are getting off your day-to-day jobs, just coming to do this. And, the parents going to fuss at you enough. I'm not here to do that to you. I just want you to come do the best job you can. And if my team is victorious, that's great. But if we're not, guess what? I'll see you on Friday or Saturday night because you'll be right back in the gym calling the next game. And I appreciate what you do. So just those little gestures go a long way, like you said. In the locker rooms, like I said, if I don't leave my practice gym without all my basketballs, I definitely wasn't going to leave the locker rooms a filthy mess. Regardless if we win or lose the game, my team knew that we were going to stay there and make sure it was presentable for the next day because, like I said before, my job as an AD or the coach at Hardaway and the PE department head was to make sure the gym was ready for that next day's classes to come in at 8 o'clock in the morning. So either I was going to clean it up at night after the games or I'm going to come in early in the morning to make sure it's suitable and that my principal didn't get a phone call that the gym was messed up or dirty that next day. So like I said, we're here to serve and give back. And it's just something that was enriching me as a child. So I just can't do it as an adult. I'm not a messy person. I want to be organized and as structured as possible in everything that I do. Make a good first impression, lasting impression, and for people to remember me just as a high character person, if possible.
Coach, I tell you, that is the way it ought to be done, man. If you're out there listening, this is who's in charge of our athletic department at Muskogee County, and you can see it's in good hands. And Kendall, we're honored to have you on this program tonight. We'd love to have you back maybe in the spring of the year.
Absolutely.
When things are going on, and I know you're busy. If you could find time to come back again, we'd be honored. And is anything we could ever do to help you, all you have to do is call.
Yes, sir. I do appreciate it. Thank you all so much.
We believe in what you're doing, man. Thank you. So we'd like to give you a attaboy tonight.
Absolutely.
They got the right
Coach, before we get out of here, what we always do, we're going to give you an opportunity here, and say you've got a young coach or a young athletic director, and I want to be a success at this. Just give us a couple of points of advice that you would give a young coach or a young athletic director who wants to do well, who wants to get better. What are some things you would tell them, maybe to start hanging their hat on a little bit, or as points to follow?
I've meet with them and talk to young coaches all the time. So I don't know if this might be a little quote list. If they got a pencil or paper, they can write this down. I think I was always more observant when I walked in a room. Instead of going in trying to make my presence felt, I just wanted to lay back or sit back and see what's going on in the room, see where I fit in. Sometimes young coaches are very excited and animated about being a head coach and getting their points across, and sometimes they don't necessarily take the necessary steps to build those foundations that are needed and required. And I guess if you're doing those things with your team or your staff, you're probably doing those things in life, and sometimes you just can't take shortcuts. So timing is of the essence, and when your time comes, be ready to kick that door down and take that program by the horns and guide it and do the best you can. But one of my favorite quotes, I know you say you're going to give me a few minutes, but I don't want to take too much time. One of my favorite quotes, I got this from a coaching clinic years ago, and I share it with my athletic directors and coaches all the time, is if you think back to the medieval times and stage coaches, by definition, a coach is just a vehicle to take a person of importance from where they are to where they want to be. So that's something that's stuck in my brain for years, that just be that vehicle to take that person of importance, which is a student athlete, an assistant coach or whoever, an athletic director at this point, that person of importance from where they are to where they want to be. And that's what a coach does. And that's what I want to strive to do in my everyday walk, and just try to build high character people to understand what their purpose is in life. A coach is not winning all the games. A coach is not fussing and using profanity or disciplining the kids all the time. It's just a vehicle to take that person of importance, that's that person you're working with, from where they are to where they want to be. And if they reach that highest level, all blessings to you. If their highest level is a high school athlete, that's awesome. If their highest level is a collegiate athlete, that's going to be awesome. If their highest level is a professional athlete, that's going to be awesome. And that's what I strive to do just on a day-to-day basis.
I really appreciate those words.
That is outstanding, and that's that's exactly what we wanted to hear. There is something like that, and I love that quote. I've read that quote about a stagecoach and about what a coach is, what it started out meaning, and how that parallels exactly with what people in the coaching profession do. And I think that is great for everybody to hear, and it would behoove everybody to remember that you're just a vehicle to get an important person from where they are now to where they want to be. And I think all of us need to take that to heart. But Coach, like Marty said, thank you for being with us. We absolutely want to have you back on here when you've been in this job for a little while and you've really gotten rid of the saddle sores and everything and worked all the kinks out. We want to have you back and talk some more about about what's going on and how things are going. But what we really appreciate is we tell every guest that we have on here, as we use the name of this podcast, we really appreciate you being willing and being able to step in and step up and make a difference in the lives of young people. You've made a difference in the lives of a lot of young people. You had coaches that made difference in your life. You're carrying that on. You're passing that baton to another generation. And we thank you for being willing to step up and make a difference. And thank you again for being with us.
Thank you
and
so
folks,
much.
with that, we're going to wrap up this edition of Step Up, Make a Difference, the podcast. Remember, tell all your friends about us. We are on social media. We have social media pages now. All you have to do is search Step Up, Make a Difference, the podcast, and you can find us on there. And as always, you can find full episodes of our podcast at Georgia Alabama Sports Live. And Georgia Alabama Sports Live, if you're in our area over here in East Alabama, West Central Georgia, and you want to watch some good high school sports, all you have to do pretty much any day of the week is go to Georgia Alabama Sports Live, and something is going to be going on, whether it's volleyball or softball or flag football or regular football. We're going to have something going on, and people are able to watch that live, and it's a great service that Thrift Behringer started with this, and it's going strong now and growing and getting bigger. And we thank Thrift and Georgia Alabama Sports Live for giving us the platform to put this podcast out on a weekly basis. But we will see everyone again this week. And you two guys, thanks as always. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time here on Step Up, Make a Difference, the podcast.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.